Good morning, everyone. So before we get started, I would like to inform you
morning,
that
sir.
this is a interactive class. So I'll be asking questions and I will be asking your thoughts and processes as well. And this will be a short class because it's just an introduction class. Is it understood? Okay, let me just repeat. So this class will be an interactive class. You can ask questions on the way and I will be happy to answer you. If you guys have any doubt, you can always message me and I'll give you a reply on what the actual or I'll give you further explanation on it. And we'll also be going with practical stuff as well. It will be in between, but not every time. So this will, and again, this will be a short class because it's just an introduction. All right, then let's get started. Okay, then. So I was actually teaching this to the other class in the morning. It's about photography. So mobile photography is no different actually. It's the same concept of photography, just in a different device, basically. So let's see what we'll learn today. We'll be learning about the photographic basics, exposure triangle, and the composition. This is one of the most important things that we'll be learning about. That is the composition and the storytelling. Any doubts so far?
No, sir.
Okay. So basically, what do you guys think is photography? If there is someone from the morning class, please don't ruin the fun. So tell me, even though without seeing the thing that I just gave up on the screen, what do you guys think is photography? If you guys are not comfortable to speak on mic, you can always chat. Anyone? Okay. So anyone can tell me what photography is?
The mobile phone, that's the mobile photography.
Okay. Anyone else? Capturing an image. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. So basically, what I would call a photography is, in literal meaning, it means light drawing. What do you mean by light drawing? Basically, photo is consisting of the Ayman, you're Shad, I think. Anyone else raise their hand? I thought I saw someone raise their hand. Okay. Memories. Okay, there's one person who called it as memories. Okay. So photography is basically, in literal sense, it means capturing lights in a different manner, because what you're actually how your eye see things is by altering lights in different positions to give an image. So photography is basically light drawing. That's what I would like to call it. And in that, we come to the next part, exposure triangle. You will see this in most of the photography courses, because this is one of the most important things in photography. There is this is basically the stepping stone of photography, and this will define you what photography means as well. So if you can see the three different things in exposure triangle: aperture, ISO, and shutter speed. And each of them consists something with regards to light. Can anyone say what that light means? So anyone explain what aperture is with just vague information that's available on the screen? Anyone? Mm, just put a random guess. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what do you think is aperture? I know it's too vague, but it's something to do with light. So aperture basically means the volume of light. That is how much light enters, or I would say how much light is there. Okay. So imagine yourself in a dark room. Okay. You will have something like your eyes will be, uh, your pupil expands in order to see better in the dark. At the same time, when you come outside to see the sun, what happens is your pupil uh, becomes smaller, showing that there's more light available. So we'll just reduce the light that goes to your eyes. So that's how basically aperture works. Even though it's not necessary in mobile photography, it's something that you'll find everywhere. And then we have ISO. ISO is basically the different lighting conditions of the rooms that you're in. And shutter speed is basically how fast you're taking the photo, or the camera is taking the photo. So I would like you to do a small exercise and get back to me with the results. Everyone should try and do it, and it's a simple one. Take your phone out, get a picture of a random thing, and tell me what is the aperture, which will be in f-stops. It will be something like f1.5 or f2.4 or f6, f16. It will be something like that. And the ISO, it will be mentioned ISO. And the shutter speed, just don't mention about shutter speed, because it will be around fractions. It will be 1/10 or 1/100. So just don't bother about it. So please take a picture and let me know the results in chat or via chat. I mean the mic. Done. So for example, I just took a picture of a random object lying around, and my ISO was 640, which means I'm basically indoors. And then there is 1.6, which is my f-stop, which means like the lens is not needing too much light, so it closed a bit. And then we have 1/30th of a second, which means how quick the photo was taken. Yeah, so ISO 400. Okay. And what about the aperture? That is f, how much? So I'll just ping my findings in this thing. Yeah, there you go. That's the lens size. Okay. 2.2 is your aperture. I think it's an f-stop. Okay. So you get the concept, right? So basically, almost all the phones or cameras work in a similar way. You have to balance these three out in order to get a proper photo. And that's how all cameras in the world work. And then there you go. by 26 per second. That's the lens size, and then the ISO. So as I said, you will have to get more used to this concept in order to get more beautiful photos in the future. Next slide. So yeah, this is kind of irrelevant, but at the same time, it is something that is going to be needed. So I'll explain a bit in this. So every time you take a photo, you won't expect the same aperture. So right now you have already taken a photo and you have already given me the outputs. Take another photo in a different place of a different object and see how ISO, shutter speed, and the aperture varies. Just take a quick picture. It doesn't have to be nice, and I'm not going to see it anyways. Did everyone get some photos? Okay. So cameras in smartphones have been evolved to a point where you don't have to think about these things because they already know which is the best scenario for this particular photo, and there are also AIs which work on getting your photos look more beautiful. So that's why nowadays people just usually take the phone. This is not clear. Okay, so basically when you take a photo, if you take two identical photos, you might not have the same exact aperture, shutter speed, and ISO because of the different lighting conditions that you're in. Given the fact that you have something moving or the light changing or something like that, unless everything is fixed. Did you understand, Sajid, I think? So take two photos of two different things and you will find that ISO, shutter speed, and aperture won't be the same. It will be varying depending on how the light hits the actual object itself. So that's what I meant. Okay. So let me just go back. Aperture is basically how your lens takes the light in. All right. So, in a darker room, what basically happens is that your pupil, your eyes, the black parts in the eyes expand in order to get more light inside your eyes in order to see. At the same way, it happens when you go outside for a walk. When you go out for a walk, your pupil, they just dilute a lot. They just become smaller and smaller and smaller in order to get less light in because of how bright the sun is outside. So that's aperture. Did you everyone understand the aperture? Just put yes or no in the chat. Okay, that's 1, 2. So you guys understood aperture right now, right? Okay. Your eyes, basically when you go outside, they become smaller in order to reduce the light that goes inside. The same way, when you go inside a dark room, it expands in order to get more light to see things. So that's the basic of aperture. ISO is basically how much light you're going to allow in order to get a photo. So when you take your phone, and try to capture something, when you keep pressing on the display itself, you can lock the exposure, the ISO, how much you want, or how much you don't want. So think of ISO as something that is varying depending on situations. So you'll use ISO 100 for a daylight situation, and the similar fashion you will use ISO 1600 on a night occasion. So now your photo would be something like, take something outside and take something inside, and you will see different ISOs. At least in camera, in theory, that's what happens. So I would suggest you guys try it. So is okay. Did you guys see a difference in the ISO rates? Okay, so that's basically what ISO is. And then we have shutter speed. We don't basically use full forms in ISO. We just mention it as ISO and we just go with it. We don't like check for ISO. When you basically say ISO 800, 600 and stuff, people understand what you're talking about. So we don't usually go around, because that's how basically it's there in DSLRs and everything. And then we have shutter speed. Shutter speed is basically how quick your phone or your camera takes the picture. So at times in a sports event, can you use your phones to capture something that's moving really quick? Anyone? Okay. Okay. So that's where the shutter speed comes in. Shutter speed basically allows you to reduce the amount of time or increase the amount of time which is taken to take a particular photo. So you would see people in sporting events with big cameras having huge lenses with shutter speeds of 1 by 10. So basically, within a split second, they'll be able to take a picture of a particular image, object at a quicker pace. At the same time, when you go outside, when you take a photo, like the phones these days, what they have is something called a AI, which basically allows you to which allows the phone to think. So okay, this phone is this particular image is going to be dark. So what I'm going to do is basically set a timer in order to increase the amount of light that comes in, and that in return helps you get a brighter photo instead of a dark one in that particular scenario. Okay, so that's basically what these three mean. I hope it's cleared out right now, because you'll be understanding more about this later on, because I'm planning on explaining each and everything later on. This is just an introduction, so I'm not gonna like explain a lot. So moving on. So this is the important thing in mobile photography, because this actually changes how you look at pictures. So by default, when you take a picture, you just stand in front of it and take the actual photo itself. But that doesn't say uh, the whole purpose of what and how you came across it. For photography itself, and you'll also have to make something unique for yourself. As you can see, these are photos that I found the, to make himself look a little bit more stand out. So photography is also a place where almost everyone is going to have the same image, but no, when you change your perspective, you can look at things in a different way. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what do you guys think about this particular image? It's unedited. It's a photo just simply taken. What do you guys think about this? And what do you guys have to say about this? Just type in the chat. Anyone else? Okay. Peaceful. Okay. Okay. So now then, if you were in this position to take a different type of image, how would you try to take that picture? So what I'm basically trying to tell you is, where would you find this particular scenery in order to calm yourselves? Something like that. I'm trying to give you an example of how you will have to look at the photos. So this looks calming in nature. At the same time, what do you think will, how do you think will it change if the perspective of how the photo was taken is changed? Okay. So yeah, taking photos depends on your creativity. So what is focused on this is to show the old rusted metal on this peaceful park, which is in Kandy. And then we have this, just an old photo, old museum. What do you think of this particular image? Anyone? You don't have to speak. You can just type in the chat. I'm reading as much as I can. A dark place. Looks like moving dark. Okay. Night scenery. Okay. Lightlessness. Okay, so basically what this photo was taken to show was the architecture design of how the light hits the building itself. That's why it's dark in nature, and not to amplify the lights that are bouncing off the walls of it. Can you see the proper how the architecture looks, but the other all look dark? So that's what this photo emphasizes. Even though it's not nothing big, it's something that says a story of how this was built. It just gives an idea, rough idea. And then we have this image. Looks like a normal image, right? But this image wasn't easy to take because it had like I had to hike and stuff in order to get this image. And this was taken in a phone, by the way. So all the three images that I showed you were taken in the phone. And you can see some rocks on the foreground, something on the background. The subject is basically the rocks and the river. So do you think if I post this to show in social media, will it stand out from other photographers?
Sir, your question is not clear.
Okay, so basically what I meant is you can see there are rocks in the foreground and a waterfall in the background. If I just put it how it is right now in any social media platform or on the internet, do you think this will stand out? That's my question. Without editing, nothing, just natural. Anyone? Okay, there's a conflict. So some say it might and some say it won't. And if I edit something like this with a lot of different uh, color tones and edits, now what do you think? Because most of the people have different prefers, they prefer different color tones. So there is cooler color tones, which is something bluish in color, and there are hues and warmer color tones, which is some kind of like orangish. So those two depends, and those two give a different idea on the photos that you take. So this is more like a warmish tone, which gives the scene look like it has been hard to get there, and it's something to do with the day, and it's somewhere like deep and stuff. You can understand from the photo itself, right? You get a lot of mixed emotions what the person is trying to say. So that's why your composition and your edits matter. When you take a photo, you have to think of how you're going to present the photo as well. Is it understood by now?
Sir.
Exactly. Okay, next up. So this is an example that's been used most of the time. So I'm just gonna like take it from whoever was the original poster. So it's a story. I'll tell you a story. So this person went for a jog on early morning, and he saw a piano, and he was on top of mountains, as you can see. There's a piano right there. I know you can't see it, but trust me, there's a piano right there. And he was like, okay, it looks nice. It's a good piano. Let me just try to take a photo. And this is the photo that he came up with. Normal people don't see anything over there until the story is told. Correct? And then what he did was he decided to hike down to that particular place in order to take a better photo. And this is what he got. So he basically used a lot of negative space in order to emphasize the piano. But does this really look nice? It can be better, right? Just reply in the chat. And then he came up with this photo. I know it's blurry. I took it from somewhere else, so that's the reason why it's blurry. He took this photo. It shows a broken down piano with a on a cliff. Looks nice. I'm not gonna lie. The scenery is really nice. It's pleasing to the eyes, even though it's unbelievable that mobile phones have come to such a point that they take beautiful photos. And then he decided, okay, this photo might be it, and let's go back home. When he turned back, he took this particular photo. He just edited few things, and this is the photo that he came up with. So what are your impressions on this and the first ever photo that I showed you of the piano just standing on the cliff that you can't even see? So you see the transformation, and this basically requires a lot of thinking, a lot of work, because you have to get down to that particular moment to get a perfect capture. So this looks really nice. It says that the piano is really on a cliff, because you wouldn't say that this has a piano on it, can you? This just looks like a normal scenery photo, whereas this looks like a piano is on indeed a cliff. Now then, I'll teach you on how to get good photos with the guides. So for the composition, most of the times you'll have to use the rule of thirds. So basically you can see 9 boxes there. So what most people try to do is use one of the boxes on the any side in order to take a picture. Almost every phones have it. I would suggest you turn the grids and take a photo with the particular lines, at least 2 lines joining, like here. Actually, I would want any subject touching 2 lines and try taking a picture. And tell me, what do you think of it? Everyone, you can try this and let me know. It's mostly available in your settings of the phone. Check the grid settings. So on iPhones, I think it's you have to go to settings and then camera and then switch on grid. So I would want you all to turn on grid. If you don't know how to turn on, just check in your camera. It's probably there in your camera setting, because most of the phones do have grids. And then I would want you to take something on the normal camera mode, not portrait or anything, with these two like these 2 points touching the subject. So try doing something like that and let me know what the output is. Like, what do you think of that particular image? It doesn't have to look nice. It just shows how your how the photo can be used in order to like get more focus on the subject rather than the background or the foreground. As you can see, there are leaves on the foreground and there are leaves on the background as well. So what you're basically doing is keeping the object in a position where it can stand out more. but because like when you first look at this photo, you'll be looking at the difference, like you basically focus on the object itself rather than the background or the foreground. So that's one of the ways that you can take photos. And then there is this lead line. This photo looks nice, right? I really like this photo. This particular photo was taken with nothing but just the lines of the architecture itself. So you can see lines going, right? So with the help of those lines and the grid that you guys have just enabled on your phone, you can take something like this. This doesn't have to be expressive. It's purely for uh, aesthetic and architectural beauty. But this coupled with different types of things that are having lines will look really good. For example, if you go to a bridge, you'll most surely have a line to handles of the bridge. So with this uh, type of composition, you can take good pictures of the bridge itself. And you will be able to see how it looks when you try it actually. So I would suggest you, whenever you're going somewhere out, try taking pictures with the guided lines that are available already in the nature instead of trying to scramble your head and thinking of a different composition. And then there is this photo. Okay, what's special about this, you may ask? Uh, what do you think is different from this photo compared to the other photos that I showed you? So basically what this photo emphasizes is basically just the open space. So you can see that the subject looks much more, uh, the subject itself looks way different because he's moving and the object behind him is just giving him space. Instead of having all the photos like compressed, basically like everything clumped together, this gives more room space. The subject, the object, everything has its own place and its own thing to do. That's what this basically describes. Moving on, and then use negative space. So I think I showed you an example of how negative space can be used with the piano photo. If you guys were paying attention, were you guys paying attention on the piano photo? So that shows how negative space was used to emphasize the piano itself, right? The same way, sorry, the same way negative space can be used in order to emphasize almost everything. As you can see, it's a sea, but the sky has a lot of negative space, which leads you to focus on the sea itself, even though the sky itself looks beautiful. Is everything clear up to this point? If not, just let me know. I'll try and explain it wherever you feel like I need to explain you guys on. Did you guys understand, or is there anything that I have to clear up? Okay, then the next topic. So this will basically be your last slide for today. From next week onwards, we'll get more content for you guys ready in order to get you more used to what we are going to actually learn. So whenever you're taking a photo, make sure your phone lens is clean. Yeah. So whenever you're taking a photo, make sure that your phone lens is clean, because at times, even though it may not seem dirty, it is. And then always select the right exposure. When you're trying to take a photo, try to take a darker version as well as a lighter version of it. And then try to see the difference of which photo you might like, because different exposure exposes different things, which makes you think of two different scenarios rather than one. Is it understood? Danny, if you would explain, like if you tell me like which part you don't understand, I'll be able to explain you. And then the third one is positioning. Try to think different. That's basically what I have to suggest you. Think out of the box, not like everyone else. So if you see a nice car, you'll probably think of taking the photo in a way that the whole car is seen. But most of the photographers, even though they see it the same way, what they try to do is express the minor details. For example, the brakes or the wheels or steering wheel itself, the stitchings, the logo. So try to get a different way of looking into the picture. Instead of getting a default view and then stopping, try exploding, because there's nothing that you can lose when you're trying to explore for a good photo. After all, you can always take multiple and delete the ones that you don't use. And yes, almost uh, all the phones do have uh, grids, by the way. Just make sure you use them. There are 3x3 grids. It's there in your every phone. I think you just have to search a bit. And then Lightroom. So you can use classic Lightroom as well as regular Lightroom. But I would suggest, since you're taking a phone photo, I would suggest you use a simple photo editing app which is available on your phone, like Lightroom, and just use those and tamper around with the settings a bit, and you will see what type of photo you like. I hope you all understood. So that's basically it for today's session. I'll be giving you things to think about. That is, basically, I want something that may look different. So I want you guys to think of something that may look like this from far, but actually has a personality of this, which says a different story. I don't want to see it. I just want you guys to take a picture and see what drastic changes on each interpretations are. So that's a small assignment that I'm giving you guys today. Is it understood by all? And yes, make sure you can find your grids on the phone, because that really helps. No, you should not like what I expect you guys to do is basically I need you guys to take 2 photos. You can try as much as you want. 2 photos. One of the photo should not actually represent the object that you have in mind. So I'll give you an example. Let's say there is a fruit on the tree, an apple or a mango or whatever it is. Just take the photo of it from far, the whole tree. So you'll get a photo, simple tree. And then I want you to express how the actual mango is there in the tree. So maybe the height difference or the color of it or something that expresses itself rather than the tree. Is it understood now? So Gcam, basically, you're correct. Stock photos, at times, I would say the stock photograph, stock camera is not that good, but Gcam is really good. But at the same time, you can't find Gcam mods for every mobile. So that's an issue. So if you are able to get Gcam, please do use it. It's a good camera application, but not all phones have it. So that pretty much concludes today's session. Hopefully I'll be able to see you guys next week, and I'll probably give you more explanations and probably make you guys understand what the actual thing that I'm trying to explain is. Yeah, and anyone has any concerns? Right then, thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
No issues. Pleasure of all mine.